Hello, this is another episode of the Older and Wiser podcast. I believe this is the fifth recording, or fourth. I don't know. I'm way behind because I am a gigantic slacker. But you can find me at richardolder.com, or you can follow me on Instagram or the Twitter machine at rkolder. I'm here with my friend and fellow comic, Doug X. You can find him at dougxcomedy.com, and that is with an X.
Yep. Doug, the letter X, comedy.com.
All right, sir. So we are here at Burbank once again, the glamorous Burbank. I had a gig tonight at Flappers that was unceremoniously canceled. Apparently, the comedy club cancels a show if there's not enough people, if they don't have enough audience members. I fulfilled my end by bringing somebody, my friend Doug. So Doug showed up, but by the time when Doug got here, they'd already canceled it because there weren't enough people.
I was coming from OC, so I got here about 8 o'clock, which is a little bit late, but I figured I'd still catch most of the show.
Yeah.
But I was wrong.
Doug made the travel of 1,000 taillights, and but you still made it. So instead of him watching me do jokes, we're just going to talk about jokes. So, Doug, how long have you been doing stand-up for?
So I say 3 years. I always thought it'd be cool, and like a buddy of mine was putting on a show in a bowling alley once, and he invited me, so I did I was supposed to do 5 minutes, but I didn't time my set, and they didn't have anybody giving the light, so I did 15 minutes. And then after that, I did like 2 coffee shop open mics where it was like poetry / music / comedy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was scattered from 2010 to 2014, and then about midway through 2014, maybe 2015, I went to actually the Acre Bar, a full actual comedy open mic.
Sure.
And I started going repeatedly and doing it. So that's when I count. I've been doing about 3.5 years now.
That's cool. So what's it like doing an open mic in a place where there's poetry and music? Just because they're not there for comedy. Comedy tends to lean a little dark.
It was terrible. It was terrible, and that's why I didn't do it anymore. It was not a good experience. I was fine. No, it's not. Oh man, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. So no, I did it once. I did it again 2 weeks later, and then just got involved with other things.
Yeah, I've always performed at comedy clubs, minus one show. So if you follow me, you know I do comedy clearly. I'm also a musician. If you on my website, you can check out the music. I'm the drummer for the Wayward Strangers, and we were touring. I want to say it was 2 years ago, year and a half ago. We were touring off the album we put out. We put out an album called Midnight Rider, and we were touring to support the album.
Oh yeah, you did the set in between your music sets.
Yeah, my father booked this gig, and he let it slip out to the establishment owner. Basically, we made a stop in Redding, California, which if you have a chance to stop in Redding, don't.
Is that out going east or is that going north?
It's north. So you go through Sacramento and you're going north towards the Oregon border. It's kind of right between the border and Sacramento.
Oh, God.
But if you have a chance to stop, don't. Just keep on driving because Redding fucking sucks. But we know people there, so that's why we set the gig up. And my dad told them, oh, my son's a stand-up comedian. And they're like, oh, well, it'd be great if you did comedy between the music sets. And I said yes. I didn't understand the undertaking that it was going to be. It's weird. It's a weird transition to be playing drums and then grab the mic and start telling jokes. It's a really weird transition. And it was also easily the biggest bomb I've ever laid. It and I did a half hour. It was a half hour set. There were 4 people, and I one of them was a close friend of mine who we used to be in a band in the '90s, and he was there, and his sister, who I also have been friends with for a long time, and her husband, and another member of his band, of my friend's band, and I couldn't make them laugh or anything. I think I cut it off at like 26 minutes, and I just went back to playing music. But it was brutal. It was a brutal 26 minutes, and that's the only show I've done outside of a comedy club. Like I've done a number. Well, you know what? That's not true. So there's a comedy show like I was talking to you about last week.
Pizza place, yeah.
Pizza place. But if you hear this and my slacker ass gets us out in time, you can see me at Tony's on Aviation, which is down by the airport here in Los Angeles. On the 21st, I'll be there.
That's down by the BDSM dungeon, Sanctuary. You can go and check out a BDSM dominatrix and then go see the Richard do comedy.
See, I didn't know that club was down there. It might be an entertaining place to go after I'm done telling jokes.
Unless it's like a Friday or Saturday, they don't have a party going on until like 10 or 11 or middle of the night. But you know,
that's when the bondage breaks out.
Yeah, you should contact them. We can do a BDSM/comedy show. Like if you're into masochism, you can hear my jokes and then get whipped after, and then see which is more painful.
So you said you've been doing comedy for a couple of years now. Like, where did that start? So like most people I know had at least there was a moment where they're like, hey, I'd like to try this. Like, who were your influences when you were started, and why did you start doing comedy?
So I know Rodney Dangerfield started comedy later in life, and I was like, I'll do that at a certain point. And what held me back, I guess, was, I always heard rumors like you had to go to get started. You had to go and like wait 6 hours at an open mic to get called up, and my back's all messed up. And I'm like, there's no way I can sit for 6 hours. It's just not physically possible.
Right.
And like when I took the bar exam, my main worry wasn't exactly the bar exam. My main worry was like, how am I going to sit for 8 hours?
Oh, sure.
Honestly, that was like everyone else, like, oh man.
Does the bar take 8 hours?
Oh, it's 3 days of 8 hours of testing.
Jesus Christ.
You have 4 hours in the morning, an hour lunch break, 4 hours in the afternoon. Now, with multiple choice, you can end early. Well, I guess you can end early for all of them.
Yeah,
but the multiple choice was the ones where I finished like an hour and a half early.
Sure.
So my mornings, or whatever it was, I think it was mornings, yeah. So 2 mornings, like at the end, like I'm 2.5 hours in. So that was a little bit easier for me. Had a nice long lunch. And I got a hotel room right near it and everything. But anyway, so same thing. Like one of the things that put me back was just physical limitations. I was like, I can't do 6 hours of sitting. And then a friend of mine got cancer.
Oh.
And she wanted to do comedy because that was like one of her biggest fears. And she's like, it doesn't seem so scary anymore.
Right, when you got cancer, getting up with a mic and doing comedy isn't nearly as terrifying.
So she wanted to like embrace all these challenges that she put off. And so I started searching with her for like open mics. And then I found out Flappers had their open mic. And she came and did it, was crazy about it, got put on a showcase like right after she did her show.
That's awesome.
So I went and also got put on the show.
That's cool. It's a really interesting origin story, like the way you got started. That's really interesting.
Well, it was more like it was not nearly as the story. Maybe it is like that the Comedy Store or something. But there's so many places where you don't have to wait 6 hours,
right?
And you can get up relatively quickly,
right? Which is interesting. Like when I started, I was doing the afternoon or like early evening open mic at Flappers. So during the week, I mean, I don't know if they're still doing it, but like there was an open mic at like 5 o'clock or 5:30, and I don't know if they're still doing it, but that's what I was doing. Like I was showing up because at the time I was doing, I had different jobs. Like I was doing overnights for security, and then I got into a job where I was working early mornings, and so like I couldn't go to the.
Well, how long have you been doing this?
I started in the summer of 2015, I want to say.
So we've been doing it about a pretty similar amount of time.
We've been doing it about the same amount of time.
And we're similar in age, too.
Yeah, I think.
Ish.
I don't know. Ish.
Yeah.
Old enough to know better.
Between
right?
40 and 50, right?
Between 40 and 50. Yeah, that is. I am right in that age range. But yeah, I started because like I had been wanting to do comedy for like 10 years. And I've always been a huge fan of the format. Like I grew up listening to like and watching George Carlin and Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, and I'd always wanted to do it, and I was just too afraid. Even though I've been on stages, like when I started, I've been performing live off and on for 24 years.
To be part of a band, I think it makes it easier.
It's right, way easier.
You got some comrades and support. It's pretty cool. Stand-up comedy, you're alone.
Right, and that was exactly it. Like I've been playing drums for 24 years, but it's different because when you're a band, you're like you're like a gang. Where like even if people don't like you, you're like fuck you, give them the finger and grab your gear and roll. Which there are some stories of me not acting particularly well in those days.
I am shocked.
Yeah, right. Imagine shocked that I was acting inappropriately.
Angry and inappropriate.
Right, me is angry and inappropriate. But like I was always too afraid to grab the mic. Like I sat behind a drum set, and then I was dating a girl a number of years ago, and she was just like, "You watch a lot of comedy specials." She's like, "Why aren't you telling jokes? Like you're a funny guy. You got really weird stories." And I was still too afraid. And she said, "You know what? If you go to the open mic, I will come with you. So at least there's someone you know." And I kind of like
it means a lot. The most important
it means
really
a lot.
helps. Yeah.
And I went and the first open mic I did, I made other comics laugh, which is very hard to do. And I was like, "Oh damn! All right, well maybe she's not wrong. Like maybe I do have, a knack for this." And now, 2.5, 3 years later, she's gone, and I'm way deeper in comedy now than I was then. So even though that relationship failed, like I can't thank her enough for starting me on this path, giving me the confidence. Like as a comic, like we go up there and we're awkward and stuff, but yet there's an underlying confidence that hey, I'm going to air out all my shit in front of you. And having someone there who can support you to say, hey, you know what? It's okay to talk about your stuff. It's okay to make fun of yourself. People will laugh, and it's all fine. It's a big deal.
I have a half decent story about like girls just giving you a start on something, and I guess maybe we got a couple more minutes left.
We got time. Go for it.
Yeah. So, I was sort of dating this girl. She had been a student in one of my classes. So I was teaching the GRE, the GMAT, and LSAT for Kaplan. And then after the class was over, she contacted me. And we kind of went on a date. She was like dating 2 other guys at the same time. And like they didn't know about me. I was her extra side guy. And eventually we got to a point where we were trading sex for
So there was Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, and you were the
I was
third?
the third string, yeah.
I just realized that joke references a different podcast. That's all right though. Keep going.
So we got to this kind of thing where like I was trading with her sex for tutoring.
That sounds like a great deal.
I was tutoring her for the GRE, and she was having sex with me. And she's like, "Why don't you go to law school?" And I'm like, "We can't afford the LSAT. I'm barely scraping by."
Yeah.
She's like, "I'll pay for the LSAT. It's like $200." She's like, "I'll pay for it for you. It'll be my little experiment." Because I don't know how rich she was, but her dad was literally a millionaire. We went to this, like, the first time she took me home her first time and like went to this amazing house, and she was terrible. She's a horrible human being. But
really?
But she got me to law school because she paid for my LSAT.
That's so. She's a terrible human being, but she paid for your LSAT. Like she helped you get your license.
Yeah. Well, that's the law. That's the.
Well, she did say it was an experiment.
That's the law school admissions test that you take, and that gets you. You then go to law school, and then the
Yeah,
bar
yeah.
is after. It says LSAT, law
Right,
school.
but it gets you
bar.
into law school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good story.
Oh man, so she comes over and she's like, should we meet for like just lunch? I don't think anything's gonna happen. But then she's like, I don't know if she invited herself or if I like threw it as a Hail Mary, you wanna come back to my place? And she's like, sure. And like I said to watch DVDs, but we all know what watch. This is before Netflix and chill.
Right.
We all know to come back to my house and watch
Now
DVDs.
now it's Netflix and chill. But in the past it was, hey, you want to come over and watch a movie?
Now I hadn't had a date in like a year. All right, so my room, I was renting a room at the time, was covered with centerfolds and like Playboy nude pictures. Just the whole wall was just nude.
Is that so that when you're home you go, I'm going to use that one today as inspiration. I'll use this one today as inspiration.
I just thought it brightened up the room.
Well, I mean, we're guys.
Alone. Yeah.
Boobs make us happy.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah. So
it's just a wall of sunshine.
Yeah. And so I'm like racing home to try and remove all of this. and if it sounds like this is a TV show, my decoration of the room was inspired by the TV show Coupling, where a guy talks about his girlfriend moves out and he just buys a bigger TV, puts his chair right in front of the TV, and stops hiding his porn. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. I endorsed that lifestyle. I didn't have a bigger TV or a chair in front of the TV, but I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna bother hiding. It's just gonna be on my walls because who fucking cares anymore?
Right, I'm single. I'm not seeing anybody. Fuck it, whatever.
Whatever. So if it's not a TV show, it was inspired by a TV show. But I like to bring these things to life. I don't like just concepts. I make them. I actualize them. I reify these concepts. And so I'm trying to like take this down, and she pulls up, and I'm freaking out. And I call a friend of mine that I used to date, and she's an ex-girlfriend, and I'm like, I'm freaking out. And she's, I'm gonna calm you down. I'm like, okay. She goes, this girl has had so many other penises inside her. And I'm like, why would you tell me that?
How is that calming me down?
And it's like, she's like, because now you don't like her so much.
It's not a big deal. She's had a lot of other penises. She's rented a lot.
Think about that, and you won't care about impressing her as much.
Oh my God.
And this girl was really pretty, like way out of my league. And, but
did it work? I mean, like when she says, "Hey, don't sweat her," she has had a lot of visitors.
No, it just made me upset in different ways. It was like you being upset about the Super Bowl versus being upset about the show being canceled. It was just a different vector of anger.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that's a comforting thing to say to somebody.
No, it was a terrible thing to say. It was horrible, but I remember it. It was humor.
That's true, and it's funny now. I mean,
yeah. So I don't think I got everything down, but I got most of it down. And then she comes in, and she actually wants to watch one of my DVDs. Like, we're actually watching a fucking DVD about Gary Kasparov playing chess against Deep Blue, which is one of the DVDs I own.
So she came over, and you guys watched a DVD about chess?
Yeah. But eventually we start making out. So this turns around. And this is like about 11 years ago. So some of the details are fuzzy, but we definitely, move into making out. And she's like, let's go get dinner, and then you can take me home to my place. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, we'll use my car. And I'm like, cool, but I have work the next morning. Will you drive me to work? She's like, no.
Wait, so why would she say, hey, we can use my car? Like, when were you going to get home? Like, this is pre-Lyft and
home,
Uber.
But she wasn't going to drive me at 8 in the morning.
She was going to drive you home that night.
No, the next morning.
Oh, the next morning. So she's going to get up, take you home, and then you're going to get up and then
go
to work?
Like, I have work at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. And she's like, no, when I wake up around 10 or 11, I'll give you a ride.
I'll try. You're like, so did you take your own car? Or
No, I drove her car. She had a really nice one. It was like an electric car.
Nice.
And like a Prius or something. And so my first time driving a Prius, because she got drunk. We went out to dinner. She got drunk. I drove her home.
Well, the seduction's always a lot easier when you have
but she
booze.
told me this was gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
And so I drove her home, and so I got called in the next morning, and a buddy of mine answered the phone. This is still at Kaplan, and I'm like, yeah, I can't teach this morning. Why not? It's like, I'm over this girl's house. He's like, what's that? You're sick? You're sick?
You're sick?
You got a fever? I'm like, oh, I got the fever real bad, man.
I got a fever and a stomach flu like you can't imagine.
But like I said, buddy of mine, I didn't have to tell any lies. I was like, yep. Yeah, balls deep, man.
I'm balls deep in this chick who's a terrible person. But, yay. That's a really interesting story. It's funny. So,
I didn't know I was a third string guy at this point.
sure.
Like, I knew she was...
But we don't ask. We don't want to know.
No,
for
but
a while.
after, I saw her ongoing for like a month and a half.
So in a month and a half, she put up the money for your LSAT?
Yeah. It was like, one time. At some point she did. Like,
Yeah.
Towards the tail end of things. Like, it was not like early on.
Right.
It was like a month and a half in, and like there was like a last ditch thing where I got a room with the Queen Mary for us.
So this was clearly pre like dating apps. How did you meet that girl?
She took a class I was teaching.
Oh, that's right. She took a class and she contacted you after the class.
She contacted me and she said, there was one moment when she like pictured me naked during the class.
No
like,
shit.
No one's ever like had a fantasy about me. She was like, it wasn't a fantasy. I just pictured you naked. I'm like, that's a fantasy.
That's a fantasy.
Yeah.
Especially because, no offense to the ladies, but I know that you guys don't typically envision us like that. Like, that's us. That's our domain. Like, men are generally very visual people, and we visualize, I'm sorry, but we visualize most of you naked. But I just don't hear a lot of women
It was the first time
saying
someone told
that.
me she's fantasized about me. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I had that once, like in the late 90s. Like I had really long hair. Like my hair's kind of long now, but it was almost down to my ass long. Because I was in metal bands.
But yeah,
And
what else could you do?
Right, I was in a choir class, and there was a woman there. Well, she was a woman, but there was a girl in the choir class who just had a real obsession, fascination with the singer Meatloaf.
Right, and you look like Meatloaf.
And I looked like Meatloaf.
You still kind of look like Meatloaf.
A little bit. And she was into it. Like, all she wanted to do was introduce our privates and do the horizontal dance with no pants, because she just thought I looked that much like Meatloaf, that it was like almost like a celebrity impersonator kind of deal. And it was cool. I actually ended up with her for a while. In fact, I helped deliver her first baby.
That is a story for the next episode.
That's it, right?
I think we gotta wrap this
we're
one up.
23 minutes in. If you've listened this far, that's awesome. I appreciate it. So we'll wrap this up. This is the Older and Wiser podcast. You can find me at richardolder.com. I'm at Instagram and the Twitter machine at RKOlder. And you can find my friend Doug X at
DougXComedy.com.
DougXComedy.com. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Peace out.